KP Live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaches Trinidad and Tobago to a rousing welcome. Prime Minister Prasar Bharati and members of a cabinet receive Prime Minister Modi at the airport. PM addresses members of Indian community in Port of Spain, outlines plan for deeper ties with the Caribbean nation to get the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, nation's highest honor. After marathon negotiations, Donald Trump's mega big and beautiful bill passes key U.S. House vote. Trump says the bill will make America into a rocket ship, invites all members of Senate to bill signing ceremony. IMF slams Trump's tax bill a threat to U.S. economy. Share markets soar to record numbers following solid U.S. jobs data despite the White House's wave of tariffs. Trump speaks with his Russian counterpart Putin after U.S. pauses some weapon shipments to Ukraine, says didn't make any progress as the Kremlin insisted the Russian president would stick to his aims in the conflict. California battles biggest wildfires of the year. Hundreds ordered to evacuate as dozens of buildings are threatened. Turkey, Greece and Spain also struggling with blaze as Europe heat wave continues. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed in Trinidad and Tobago as a part of his 5-nation tour. Prime Minister Modi was received by Prime Minister of the Caribbean nation along with the cabinet and senior leaders. The two Prime Ministers also addressed a Namaste Modi event where the thousands of Indian diaspora members attended from across the nation. Take a look.
A rousing welcome for Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he landed in Trinidad and Tobago. In a special gesture, Prime Minister was received by Prasar Bharati, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, along with the members of her cabinet and several other dignitaries. Prime Minister arrived in Port of Spain on the second leg of his 5-nation tour in Africa and Latin America. Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor and welcomed with special cultural performances. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with his counterpart Prasar Bharati, attended the Namaste Modi event, where the two leaders addressed thousands of Indian diaspora members. At the event, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago also announced nation's highest honor to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Through your benevolence with the vaccines initiative 4 years ago, when COVID-19 pandemic brought the world to its knees, while some other countries were hoarding medical supplies, you, sir, you ensured that vaccines and supplies reach even the smallest nations, including Trinidad and Tobago. Through your benevolence, you brought hope and calm where there was fear. I say again, this was more than diplomacy. This was an act of kinship. This was an act of shared humanity. This was an act of love. And this is one of the many reasons we are deeply proud to bestow upon you, Excellency, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Addressing the Indian community, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recounted the deep historic and cultural bonds between the two countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also announced extension of the OCI cards to sixth-generation members of the Indian diaspora. He spoke about decision of mapping of Girmitia community to bring it closer for a bright future.
I am happy to announce that OCI cards will now be given to the sixth generation of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. You are not just connected by blood or surname. You are connected by belonging. India looks out you. India welcomes you. And India embraces you.
Later, Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar hosted a dinner in honor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed in Trinidad and Tobago, the world once again saw Modi brand of diplomacy. From Trinidad and Tobago conferring PM Modi with their highest award to PM Modi reciprocating and extending the OCI card for sixth generation of Indian diaspora in the country. The visit by PM Modi to the Caribbean nation is not only deepening the friendship between the two countries, but also is proving to be a milestone in India's outreach to the global south. With camera person Mohit Oike and Saurabh Shukla, Akshay Dongre, TD India.
Also, Prime Minister Modi met Trinidad and Tobago counterpart Kamla Prasad Bisesar. Prime Minister Modi presented the replica of Ayodhya's Ram Temple, water from the holy Saryu River along with the water from the Triveni Sangam to Kamla Prasad Bisesar. Well, members of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago were delighted as Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Caribbean nation. Our correspondent Aditya Srivastava brings us more from there.
It was so exciting day. We are very closely. We watched. We met Modi ji. It was so memorable day today. Thank you very much.
Modi,
you are very excited. Why?
Yes. I feel all my pores raised when he passed next to me. Beautiful. I feel energetic.
Thank you, Modi ji, for gracing us with your splendid presence here in Trinidad today. Thank you again and again.
I was very excited to see him for where he came and where he become now Prime Minister of India. That's really tremendous. And the shoes he wore when he was going to school, he had no shoes. And he used to take the chalk and color his shoes to get it white. That impressed me such a great deal. That is humility. Beautiful.
I was so excited that Prime Minister Modi was coming, and I was so happy that I could meet him at such a close range. I haven't seen him so close. I'm so happy to be here.
Very, very much. Great. It's such a great guy, great man come to this country. So we welcome him.
And former Minister of Industry, Enterprise and Tourism of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Bhavendra Dutt Tiwari, spoke exclusively to DD India about how the diaspora celebrates diversity.
We have all manner of people from the Middle East, from Europe, from the Americas in this country. So we also celebrate our Indianness, our Indian civilization, but we also celebrate diversity. We have a lot of respect for diversity and multiracial and tolerance and existence with each other. And we look forward to a better world. And we see no better place to start than with good relations with India as a beginning and connecting with India, the African continent, South America, Latin America. Those are good things, I think, and creating opportunities for the developing world.
Dr. Tiwari also spoke of Trinidad and Tobago's willingness to work with India on sustainable development strategies, especially for small island developing states.
India is playing an important role in the development in the developing world, and I think she's playing a leadership role. And we would be happy to work with India, I think, as an island state, as a small island state, as you mentioned, on sustainable development strategies, especially for small states and island states.
Miss World Trinidad and Tobago 2025 Annalise Nanton, who represented her country in the beauty pageant held in India, lauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts to understand the connection, deep cultural roots between both the nations.
The way that he speaks, it really just touches your heart and you can't help but listen to him. And he really, really understands the connection, the deep cultural roots that we share with India, Trinidad and Tobago because of our history. And I know that all about the Trinbagonian who are here today, they really connected with him.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second day in Ghana highlighted cultural connections, youth engagement and development partnerships. Prime Minister Modi landed in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago for the second leg of his 5-nation diplomatic tour, celebrating 180 years of shared history and heritage. A civilizational bond that began with resilience now thrives through culture, community and cooperation. Let's take a look.
When we look at Ghana, we see a nation that shines with courage, that rises above history, that meets every challenge with dignity and grace. Your commitment to democratic ideals and inclusive progress truly make Ghana a beacon of inspiration for the entire African continent. The histories of India and Ghana bear the scars of colonial rule, but our spirits have always remained free and fearless. We draw strength and inspiration from our rich heritage. We take pride in our social, cultural, and linguistic diversity. We built nations rooted in freedom, unity, and dignity. We deeply value the strength and support of our diaspora. With over 35 million people spread across the world, The Indian diaspora is our pride. And I have often said, each one of you is a Rashtradoot, an ambassador of India's values, culture and heritage. I am happy to announce that OCI cards will now be given to the 6th generation of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. We are not just connected by blood or surname. You are connected by belonging. India looks out to you. India welcomes you. And India embraces.
And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back. You're watching DDTN News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on the third leg of his 5-nation visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Argentina. In an exclusive conversation with DD India, Argentina's ambassador to India, Mariana Corsino, highlighted the growing importance of India on the global stage and the immense potential for stronger India-Argentina ties. With the strategic partnership elevated to in 2019, the ambassador underscored Argentina's role in India's clean energy transition, leveraging the vast lithium and shale reserves and India's expertise in defense, IT and space as key areas for collaboration.
First of all, sir, how do you see this visit of Indian Prime Minister Modi to Argentina? How will it shape the bilaterals between both the countries?
Well, first of all, of course, we appreciate very much the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Argentina. Very, very important, and we are very happy. And especially when India is becoming a so important country in the world and the country that is growing more among the great powers. So we appreciate this very, very much.
So India is also engaging a lot with Latin American countries. So how do you see these engagements primarily, and what can we expect as far as this visit is concerned of Indian Prime Minister Modi?
Well, India and Latin American economies, and especially in the case of Argentina, are very complementary. So that's why we have although we are very far and we belong to different countries, although that the situation is that the growing relationship between our country and India is developing. To the moment, Argentina and India trade relationship, it's of around $5 billion. It could be more, but it is very, very important, and this has developed especially since the year 2019, when we established the strategic relationship between India and Argentina. And we hope this opportunity of the so important visit of the Honorable Prime Minister, it's an opportunity to enhance that.
So how do you see the current Indian leadership and the Argentine leadership, in shaping the current bilateral relationship? So their personal chemistry, their rapport, so how do you see that aspect?
Well, as a matter of fact, you know that there is a coincidence in some way, because India is a country that has been growing economically so much, especially since you adopted the reforms opening the economy and adopting the rules of the market economy and open economies, and especially in this decade under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. We believe in a free economy, the two countries, and we are sure that that will provide a great success to our country.
We talk about the multilateral platforms. there are issues like terrorism. So, Argentina looks at the aspect of terrorism because recently India has given befitting reply to terror outfits and the country that sponsor terrorism. So, what is Argentina's views in that context?
Well, when this last attack happened in April 22 in Kashmir, I think we were among the first embassies here to support India because we know perfectly well what terrorism means. Terrorism is something that affects all the countries in the world, and when one person dies because of the terrorist attack or a terrorist action, that's against that country, but it's also against the human mankind. So we are supporting India in the strongest way possible.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, sir, for talking to us. So clearly the Argentinian ambassador to India clearly mentioning that with the Indian PM Modi's visit to Argentina, the bilateral between both the countries are all set to take or to reach new heights. With camera person Mohit, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News.
And DD India's correspondent Arun Sharma spoke with Ambassador of India to Argentina, Ajanish Kumar, regarding PM Modi's visit to Argentina, highlighting the cooperation the two countries share.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to Argentina. But why is this visit significant? To get a perspective on this visit, I am joined by Indian Ambassador Designate to Argentina, Mr. Ajanish Kumar. Sir, thank you so much for talking to Doordarshan.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Argentina. So why is this visit significant? From economic aspect, from a bilateral aspect, what is your point of view on that, sir?
So this visit of Honorable Prime Minister to Argentina, though he was very much here in 2018 for the G20, but this visit becomes all the more important because it is happening after a long spell. This visit is happening at a very momentous occasion. Honorable Prime Minister is coming here. He had met only last year in November His Excellency the President of Argentine Republic, Mr. Javier Milei, and this visit is only going to consolidate the dialogue and the conversation between the two leaders.
When we talk about rare earth mineral, Argentina is part of that lithium triangle. India is aiming to enhance its capacities as far as green infrastructure is concerned. So how is this relationship complementary in nature?
India is already present in Argentina in the sectors that you identified. We have our institution called CABIL, which is here, and they have also started prospecting, and we will have some great results coming out from there. But it is not only CABIL, it is also the Indian private sector. There is a company called Greenco, which is here. I'm told that there are another 1 or 2 more companies which are looking at. But the happy part is that during the visit of the YPF chief to India this January, the 3 major Indian oil companies, that is ONGC Videsh, Oil India and GAIL, they too have signed something which will not only be looking at the gas proportion, but also critical minerals. So there is an immense possibility and a lot of scope, and I'm sure that in the coming years we will have many more good news coming out.
So what are the expectations of the Argentinian side when it comes to this visit?
As far as India is concerned, we are looking at further strengthening our economic engagement in the country. With economic engagements, there are always prospects for investments, and also entering into the areas what we call non-traditional areas. I think there is immense possibility for the two nations to find complementarities and work towards further strengthening the economic bonds.
How is this visit going to give a push to the people-to-people ties? Because be it yoga or be it Ayurveda or be it people-to-people connect in the cultural aspect.
I have no hesitation in saying that India and Indian soft power, whether it is by way of yoga, by way of Indian spiritualism, by way of the popularity of Ayurveda, or even to some extent Indian movies and films, is part and parcel of the local milieu.
Ambassador clearly saying this, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Argentina will give boost to the relationship between both the countries, be it bilaterally or, as far as the other aspect of the relationship are concerned, that is people-to-people connect as well. With camera person Vinay, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News, Argentina.
Well, in an exclusive conversation with Doordarshan News, Gustavo Itigarist, Executive Director of the Indian-Argentina Business Council, revealed that India and Argentina aim to boost bilateral trade from $5 billion to $8 billion with a target of $14 billion by the year 2040. He also emphasized Argentina's keen interest in signing a free trade agreement with India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Argentina is going to be significant from the economic point of view as well, from the trade ties perspective as well. To give an analytical aspect of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Argentina, I am joined by the Executive Director of the India-Argentina Business Council to talk on this. Sir, thank you so much for talking to us. First of all, sir, how is the India-Argentina Business Council looking at the Indian Prime Minister Modi's visit to Argentina from the economic aspect, sir?
Well, from the economic aspect and commercial point of view, it's the most important visit. Really, from the India-Argentina Business Council, we are trying to boost investment from Indian companies in Argentina, and also to boost trade, bilateral trade, goods coming and technology coming from India, and also try to expand our commerce, particularly in agricultural product, to India. We consider India as one of the strategic partners of Argentina, and we are looking for a long relationship with Mercosur countries and India in coming years.
What are the trade targets that we can expect now? Because right now, India and Argentina, they both have trade targets of approximately $5 billion. So what is the IABC's analysis? Where will the trade targets go going forward? Because both the countries are riding high as far as reforms are concerned.
Yes, exactly. We are supporting all the new reform introduced by the Argentine government. This new administration is trying to open the economy. It's trying to reduce the level of regulation from the state in order to allow private sector to increase investment and employment. So we are supporting that as a business council with a view also to increase our economic and bilateral exchange, particularly from this 5 billion till around more than 8 billion in the next 5 years. It also could be very feasible to achieve. The final view for 2040 is to arrive at 14 billion US dollar on the annual economic exchange.
How do you look at the leadership of both the nations, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President of Argentina? So how is their chemistry? How is the business community looking at their, a personal rapport so that the boost can be given to the economic relations as well?
Well, let me tell you, Mr. President Milei in Argentina have already pointed out several times that he considers Prime Minister Modi as a universal leader, one of the most important leaders, and he is looking also to enhance relationship with India. So from the Argentine government, probably you will see and you will realize a total support and collaboration with that. The second point is that Argentina is trying to convince all the other Mercosur countries to sign a free trade agreement with India. That could be our most important goal in coming years.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. So clearly, the Executive Director of IABC clearly mentioning this point that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Argentina will give a new momentum to the trade ties between India and Argentina, and the trade could be, given a major push going forward. With camera person Vinay, Arun Sharma, Doordarshan News, Argentina.
And as we know, Prime Minister is on the second leg of his visit to Trinidad and Tobago. The dinner hosted by Prime Minister Prasar Bharati had food served on a sohari leaf there, which is of great cultural significance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, especially those with Indian roots. Here, the food is often served on this leaf during festivals and other special programs. This is the dinner hosted by Prime Minister Prasar Bharati in honor of the Prime Minister, and it was served on a sohari leaf, which you can see up on your screens right now, which is of great cultural significance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, especially those with Indian roots. In fact, the food here in Trinidad and Tobago is served on this leaf often during festivals and other special programs. And back home, Vedic hymns reverberated in Jammu and Kashmir as Amarnath pilgrimage officially began on Thursday, with over 12,000 devotees paying their respects and having darshan of fully formed natural shivling or Icelingam of Lord Shiva at Amarnath Cave Shrine. While considered one of the most spiritually significant pilgrimages in India, the Yatra is not just a religious journey but a profound test of faith and endurance. Pilgrims trek through treacherous mountain paths to glimpse the naturally formed ice shivling inside the cave, believed to represent Lord Shiva himself. The Amarnath cave continues to hold deep mythological and cultural importance, making the pilgrimage a once-in-a-lifetime experience for countless devotees. And on to some weather updates now. Delhi experienced a pleasant start to Friday with light rainfall in parts of the city. The Indian Meteorological Department has not issued any weather warnings for Delhi NCR, forecasting partly cloudy skies with very light to light rain, accompanied by occasional thunderstorms and lightning. Well, heavy to extremely heavy rainfall is expected in East Rajasthan, Uttarakhand and Punjab. Specifically, East Rajasthan may witness extremely heavy rainfall, while very heavy rainfall is predicted for Uttarakhand as well till 7th of July. And still to come in DD India News Hour. US-backed 60-day ceasefire plan proposes phased hostage swaps, Israeli withdrawals and talks toward permanent Gaza truce. White House shares footage of Trump meeting former Israeli-American hostage who was freed in May from Hamas captivity. And trash piles up in Philadelphia. City workers' strike continues.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaches Trinidad and Tobago to a rousing welcome. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad, the Prasar and members of her cabinet receive Prime Minister at the airport. Prime Minister addresses members of Indian community in Port of Spain, outlines plan for deeper ties with the Caribbean nation to get the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, nation's highest honor. After marathon negotiations, Donald Trump's mega big and beautiful bill passes key U.S. House vote. Trump says the bill will make America into a rocket ship, invites all members of Senate to bill signing ceremony. IMF slams Trump's tax bill a threat to U.S. economy. Share markets soar to record numbers following solid U.S. jobs data despite the White House's wave of tariffs. Trump speaks with his Russian counterpart Putin after US pauses some weapons shipments to Ukraine, says didn't make any progress as the Kremlin insisted the Russian president would stick to his aims in the conflict. California battles biggest wildfire of the year. Hundreds ordered to evacuate. Dozens of buildings are threatened. Turkey, Greece and Spain also struggling with blaze as Europe heat wave continues. Well, moving on, in Washington, President Donald Trump is riding a wave of political victories both at home and abroad. His landmark tax and spending bill, dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill, has narrowly passed Congress, marking a significant boost to his second-term agenda. Our correspondent brings this report.
There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill to make America great again.
For a man who once boasted his supporters would get tired of winning, Donald Trump is living up to the promise. His latest triumph is the passage of a sweeping tax and spending bill narrowly approved by Congress in a tight 218 to 214 vote. The sprawling $4.5 trillion package fulfills many of Trump's campaign promises, from increased military spending and funding for mass migrant deportations to extending tax relief measures from his first term.
This bill includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, the largest border security investment in American history, although I must tell you, if you saw last month, they had 0 people coming through our border. 0.
The bill seals Trump's hardline U.S. domestic policy into law, in contrast to the rush of presidential executive orders he signed that can be overturned by his successors. President Trump hailed the bill's passage as a major boost to the U.S. economy, promising it will send America into a rocket ship. After days of tense negotiations and late-night talks, Speaker Mike Johnson managed to unite a fractious Republican House behind the bill, overcoming vocal dissent from within the party.
And we knew that if we won, and we believed we would, we knew that if we got unified government, we'd have to quite literally fix every area of public policy. Everything was an absolute disaster under the Biden-Harris radical, woke, progressive Democrat regime. And we took the best effort that we could in one big, beautiful bill to fix as much of it as we could.
Meanwhile, Democrats led by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries waged a nearly 9-hour speech marathon opposing the legislation, calling it a reckless Republican budget that favors the wealthy at the expense of everyday Americans.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to Donald Trump's One Big Ugly Bill. This disgusting abomination, the GOP tax scam that guts Medicaid, rips food from the mouths of children, seniors, and veterans, and rewards billionaires with massive tax breaks.
Former President Joe Biden echoed these concerns, calling the bill not only reckless, it's cruel. The White House is calling it a hot Trump summer, celebrating a series of wins that have bolstered Trump's standing, including recent progress toward an Iran-Israel ceasefire and a NATO spending deal. But as the president gears up for a reimposition of steep tariffs on dozens of global economies, uncertainty looms in international markets. Trump's winning streak has meanwhile fueled the self-belief of a man who said he had been saved by God to make America great again after he survived an assassination attempt last year. Bureau Report, DD India. And now let's understand some of the key items and highly debated issues in the Trump's bill in our latest report by Ayushi Bhatnagar.
The One Big Beautiful Bill is a sprawling piece of legislation exceeding 1,000 pages that aims to deliver on several of Donald Trump's campaign promises from the 2024 elections, This package honors many of Trump's campaign promises like boosting military spending, funding a mass migrant deportation drive, and committing $4.5 trillion to extend his first-term tax relief. It also includes a $5 trillion increase in the nation's debt ceiling. Let's take a look at some of the key items and highly debated issues in the bill. President Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act seeks to make the cuts permanent, a key priority for Senate Republicans. 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act lowered taxes and increased the standard deduction for all taxpayers. Bill will increase the standard deduction by $1,000 for individuals, $1,500 for heads of households, and $2,000 for married couples. The bill exempts tips and overtime pay from federal income taxes, proposes to gradually phase out the benefits based on annual income, benefits to expire in 2028, right before Trump's term as president ends. Child tax credit would permanently increase to $2,200 under the Senate bill. The bill also proposes raising the debt ceiling by $5 trillion, more than the $4 trillion approved by the House last month. Lifting the debt limit will allow the government to pay for programs already approved by the Congress. Rise in the deduction limit for state and local taxes from $10,000 to $40,000, though after 5 years it would return to $10,000. The bill would slash Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which helps people afford groceries. Senate bill requires states to contribute more to the program, would reduce food stamps by around 20%. The bill also cuts Medicaid, which provides health care to poor and disabled Americans. Childless adults without disabilities would be required to work at least 80 hours per month from December 2026. Shift in re-enrollment to Medicaid from once a year to every 6 months. Bill proposes to lower provider taxes from 6% to 3.5% by 2032. The bill would fund new sections of the border wall, increase surveillance, and build more detention facilities. Immigration and Customs Enforcement will receive $45 billion for detention facilities, subsidies and tax breaks for clean energy projects. Bill proposes a new tax on clean energy projects. Wind and solar power projects will face a new excise tax. The One Big Beautiful Bill is projected to increase the GDP by 0.4 to 0.8% over a decade, boosting investment and creating some 6.9 to 7.2 million jobs. It is set to strengthen border security with $150 billion for defense and immigration enforcement. However, Medicaid and SNAP cuts may leave 7.8 million uninsured by 2034. Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
Earlier, the International Monetary Fund has warned that President Trump's tax bill could make it more difficult to reduce the U.S. fiscal deficit and national debt in the coming years. Speaking at a news briefing in Washington, IMF spokeswoman Julie Kozak said the proposed legislation appears to run counter to efforts aimed at curbing federal debt over the medium term. Kozak emphasized that initiating deficit reduction sooner would allow for a more gradual and manageable path towards fiscal sustainability. And US President Donald Trump said that no progress was made with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin as the two leaders discussed the Russia-Ukraine conflict in an hour-long telephonic call on Thursday. Trump's grim assessment came as US-led peace talks on ending the more than 3-year-old conflict have stalled and after Washington paused some weapon shipments to Kyiv, whereas Kremlin said that Putin had insisted he would not give up on Russia's goal, specifically eliminating the root causes of the current situation. Moreover, Trump has shown increasing frustration with Putin after an early pivot towards the Russian leader. In recent weeks, he knocked back Putin's offer to mediate in the Iran-Israel conflict, telling him to focus on their home conflict instead. As per the reports, Trump and Zelensky are also likely to hold talks on Friday.
It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy. No, I didn't make any progress with them today at all.
Well, the US-backed proposal for a 60-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas envisages a phased release of hostages, Israeli troop withdrawals from parts of Gaza and discussions on ending the conflict. The plan is subject to approval by both parties involved in the conflict. US, Qatari and Egyptian mediators have been working to secure agreement. We have some details from sources that are being worked out. So 10 hostages will be returned along with the bodies of 18 others held hostage. The swaps will take place without any ceremonies or parades. On day 10, Hamas will provide information and evidence that confirm which remaining prisoners are alive or dead, plus medical reports. Israel will provide full information about Palestinian prisoners from Gaza detained since October 7, 2023. Hamas will release hostages in exchange for Israel releasing detained Palestinians. Israel says that of 50 hostages held by Hamas and its allies, about 20 are believed to be alive. Meanwhile, the White House shared footage on social media showing the meeting between US President Donald Trump and former Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander, who was released from captivity by Hamas in May. Alexander moved to Israel at the age of 18 and joined the Israeli military. He was actively serving in the Israeli military when he was captured during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack. He was freed after 584 days in captivity. He was considered the last surviving US hostage held in Gaza. And moving on, massive wildfires are sweeping across California, Greece and Turkey, forcing the evacuation of thousands, destroying homes and once again underscoring the growing threat posed by climate-driven natural disasters. Wildfires are back to haunt the US and Europe. In the United States, more than 300 firefighters are battling the fast-moving Madre fire in central California. By Thursday, it had scorched over 52,000 acres, making it the largest blaze in the state so far this year. With dozens of buildings under threat, authorities ordered around 200 people to evacuate. Climate scientists warn the state is primed for a dangerous fire season following an exceptionally dry winter and spring. Across the Atlantic, wildfires are raging in the Mediterranean region. Scientists say the region, including Greece and Turkey, are becoming a wildfire hotspot. In the southern Greek island of Crete, wildfires forced the evacuation of 5,000 people. Greece is on high alert, with July marked as the peak fire risk month. In 2024, the country saw its hottest summer on record, and in 2023, 1,750,000 hectares were scorched, marking it to be the worst wildfire season by surface area in its history. In Turkey, 2 people have died as wildfires raged near Izmir, the country's third largest city. The fires, fueled by strong winds and ongoing drought, has prompted evacuation of more than 50,000 people. The country is grappling with a long-term drought intensified by climate change. From California to the Mediterranean, experts warn that climate change is intensifying the frequency of wildfires. As climate impacts escalates, fire seasons are growing longer, deadlier and more destructive, with 2025 already shaping up to be another grim chapter in an unfolding global crisis. Bureau Report, DD India. Well, President Donald Trump said that he is planning to start sending letters informing trading partners of their tariff rates as soon as Friday, as negotiations to avoid higher U.S. levies enter the final stretch. His comments come days before steeper duties are set to take effect on dozens of economies, customized to each of them, ranging from Taiwan to the European Union. These tariffs were part of a broader announcement in April, where Trump imposed a 10% duty on goods from almost all trading partners, with a plan to step up these rates for a select group within days. But he swiftly paused the hikes until July 9th, allowing for trade talks to take place. U.S. officials have signaled that there could be a flurry of trade pacts announced in the coming days. Meanwhile, Wall Street stock indices finished at fresh records on Thursday following solid U.S. jobs data as President Donald Trump's sweeping budget bill successfully reached the congressional finish line. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs, notching a third week of gains. The Dow closed up 0.77%, only 0.41% away from its own record. While the Asian equity markets mostly struggled on Friday despite record highs for Wall Street overnight, with U.S. markets closed for Independence Day, investor focus turned to President Trump's looming July 9th trade deadline and the expected signing of sweeping $3.4 trillion spending bill. Japan's Nikkei edged up by 0.3%, but most regional indices fell, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng down 1.3% and South Korea's Kospi losing over 1%. Weak sentiment followed Trump's remarks about limited progress on trade deals, with only Vietnam, China and the UK reaching agreement so far. Analysts say uncertainty around trade, especially with Japan and South Korea, weighed on regional markets. Meanwhile, Thursday's strong U.S. jobs data lifted Treasury yields and dampened hopes for a rate cut. The dollar eased slightly after Thursday's rally. Gold inched higher and oil prices held steady. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Shubman Gill's Mammoth 269 powered India to 587 in the first innings of the second test at Edgbaston. Gill effortlessly compiled the highest score by an India batter in England and the highest score by an Indian skipper anywhere in the world. England's top order crumbled after the play of 5 sessions in the field. By stumps on day 2, the host was 77 for 3 and in deep trouble. Ben Duckett and Ollie Pope fell to back-to-back balls from Akashdeep. Both were caught in the slips. Zach Crawley edged Mohammad Siraj on 19th. India, under pressure before the test, have taken total control. Harry Brook looked unsettled despite scoring 30. Joe Root remained unbeaten on 18 at the close. And the reigning world champion D. Gukesh stunned world number 1 Magnus Carlsen yet again at the Super United Rapid and Blitz Croatia 2025 in Zagreb, extending his winning streak to 5 on Thursday. With Gukesh standing triumph, he emerged as the sole leader with 10 points at the end of the second day, with Carlsen trailing with 6 points. With just 3 rounds to come in rapid section, Gukesh enjoys 2 points lead over nearest rival Doordarshan Krzysztof of Poland. Wesliso of United States is in sole third spot on 7 points, a full point clear of Carlsen, Anish Giri of Holland and local hero Ivan Sarik. And the Pakistan men's hockey teams will be allowed to travel to India for next month's Asia Cup and the Junior World Cup later this year, a sports ministry source confirmed on Thursday. While bilateral sporting ties between India and Pakistan remain suspended, the government has made it clear that it will not stand in the way of Pakistan's participation in multinational events held in India. The Asia Cup is scheduled to take place in Rajgir, Bihar from 27th August to 7th September, while the Junior World Cup is slated for Chennai and Madurai from 28th of November to 10th of December. And before we wrap up, we'll show you glimpses of how India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, immersed in the rhythm of Bihar's Bhpuri music, performed in the port of Spain. The performance served not only as entertainment, but as a powerful reminder of the deep-rooted historical and emotional ties forged with India and the Caribbean. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.